Hello, my dear friend, and welcome back to Voice of Wisdom. As we move through the different seasons of life, the way we care for our homes often changes too. What once felt simple and effortless dusting, tidying, scrubbing can gradually demand more of our energy, more patience, and sometimes more time than it used to. For many women in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, keeping a home neat, organized, and welcoming still matters deeply. Yet, it may no longer feel quite as easy as it once did. Perhaps it's the ache in your back when bending down, the stiffness in your shoulders when reaching for high shelves, or simply the quiet tiredness that lingers after a long day. These are natural rhythms of life, and if you felt them, please know you're not alone. But here's the heart of today's message. This isn't about pushing yourself harder or adding more chores to your list. Instead, it's about embracing a gentler, wiser approach to homemaking, one that values ease, comfort, and peace of mind. In this video, we'll explore 10 simple and thoughtful habits inspired by traditional Japanese homemaking that can help lighten both the physical and emotional weight of daily tasks. These aren't about striving for a picture-perfect home. They're about creating a living space that feels calm, nurturing, and aligned with the life you're living right now. So, if you're ready to step away from stress and move towards simplicity and ease, this video is for you. Together, let's discover how small, mindful shifts can bring more grace and balance into your everyday routines. 1. Physical freedom. Less pain, more grace. As we move through the later seasons of life, the way we care for our homes often needs to change. Strength that once felt endless may now feel more limited. Simple movements like bending, lifting, or standing for long periods may bring aches and fatigue. These changes are not signs of weakness. They are honest reflections of a body that has carried many years of effort, love, and service. Many women in their 60s, 70s, and beyond still take pride in keeping a clean and welcoming home. But the truth is, some routines that once worked may now feel too demanding. The answer is not to give up on what matters, but to care for the home in ways that also care for your body. The 2 habits you will hear now come from Japanese homekeeping traditions. They are gentle, effective, and wonderfully suited for women who want to maintain their space without exhausting themselves. Habit 1. Clean as you cook. One of the simplest ways to reduce physical effort in the kitchen is to clean in small steps while you cook instead of leaving everything to the end. At first, it might sound like more work, but it is actually the opposite. It spreads out your effort in a way that protects your energy and keeps your body from doing too much at once. For example, after chopping vegetables, rinse the cutting board right away. After stirring a dish, wash the spoon before you set it down. If something spills on the counter or stove top, wipe it quickly. These are not big tasks. They take only seconds, but they stop messes from growing and help you stay ahead without feeling rushed. More importantly, cleaning as you cook prevents that heavy, overwhelming feeling many of us know so well. When the meal is done and we turn around to see a pile of dirty dishes, sticky pans, and crowded countertops, at that moment, our body may already be tired. The energy we need is not always there. By building small cleaning steps into your cooking rhythm, you avoid that crash. You stay one step ahead in a calm, steady way. You move through the process without leaving all the effort for later, when it feels hardest. Cleaning as you go also gives your body small breaks. You're not stuck standing in one place for too long. You're not scrubbing everything at once. Instead, you're taking a few gentle steps at a time, and that makes a real difference. This habit is not about perfection. It is about pacing. It is about protecting your strength so you can enjoy the meal you made without feeling drained by what comes after. Habit 2, clean the stove while it's still warm. The second habit is another small change that makes a big impact. Wipe the stove right after you finish cooking, while it is still warm but not hot. When oil, sauce, or food splashes onto the stove and sits for hours or days, it hardens. Scrubbing dried grease or burnt food can be one of the most exhausting chores, especially if your back or hands already feel sore. It often requires strong pressure, chemicals, and long minutes of bending or reaching. But Japanese homemakers take a different approach. They clean the stove gently right after cooking, before the mess has time to settle in. They use a soft cloth lightly dampened with water or a small spray bottle with warm water and a few drops of mild dish soap. The warmth of the stove helps loosen any residue so it lifts off with almost no effort. This habit does not take long, 1 minute, maybe less. But that minute saves 20 minutes of hard work later. It also keeps your stove looking clean and ready for the next use without needing harsh scrubbing or abrasive products. What matters most is that this habit respects your body. It does not ask you to strain. It does not force you into uncomfortable positions. It works with natural warmth and simple motion, allowing your hands and back to rest. And over time, it creates a quiet kind of peace. You no longer dread cleaning the stove because there is nothing caked on or stuck, just a gentle wipe, and it is done. 2. Emotional nourishment. You still matter. Many women reach a certain age and begin to feel invisible, not because they have lost their value, but because the world tends to look past them. Children grow up, roles shift, conversations become quieter, and over time, a woman who once held everything together may begin to wonder if anyone sees the care she still gives. But just because something becomes quiet does not mean it is less important. A clean towel folded with care, a dish dried and put away with intention, a table wiped down not because someone will notice, but because that is how you express love. These small acts are still seen, even if only by you. They still matter deeply. Let us begin with the next 2 habits. Habit 3. Keep a damp cloth nearby. In a traditional Japanese kitchen, it is common to keep a damp cloth within arm's reach at all times while preparing food. Not to clean the entire space at once, but to tend to small spills and moments of mess right as they happen. A few drops of oil, a bit of sauce on the counter, a bit of flour or salt where it should not be. These moments do not need to grow. They do not need to be saved for later. With a cloth nearby, damp, clean, and ready, each little accident becomes an opportunity to respond with calm and care. This habit is not about being perfect. It is about staying connected. It reminds you that your attention still makes a difference, that your presence still shapes the atmosphere of your home. It may be quiet work, but it is meaningful. Even more than that, this habit allows you to show yourself that you still have agency, that you are still the one guiding the rhythm of your kitchen. That kind of reminder, even in something as small as wiping a counter, can be deeply comforting. You are not invisible. Your hands, your eyes, your care, they still bring order to the everyday. Habit 4. Use paper towels strategically. In some homes, paper towels are used for everything. In others, they are never used at all. But in many Japanese homes, they are used purposefully, especially in moments where their usefulness can prevent a bigger mess later. For example, blotting a pan that is holding too much oil, absorbing excess moisture from ingredients before they hit the stove, cleaning a knife between slicing meat and vegetables, or wiping away grease splashes before they have a chance to spread. Used with intention, paper towels are not wasteful. They are wise. They act as your second hand in the kitchen. They prevent things from becoming more difficult later. They save time, effort, and stress. More importantly, this habit teaches something deeper. That ease is allowed, that you do not have to do everything the hard way for it to count, that small tools used with thoughtfulness can protect your time and your energy. Choosing to make your own job easier does not mean you are cutting corners. It means you are treating your care, not just for others but for yourself, as something worth protecting. These 2 habits, keeping a damp cloth nearby and using paper towels strategically, are not only practical, they are emotionally grounding. They remind you that your small, thoughtful actions are still valuable, that you do not have to be noticed to make an impact, and that you are still the quiet center of your home, even when no one is watching. So, if you have been feeling overlooked, if you have wondered whether what you do still matters, these habits may offer you a new lens through which to see your care, not as something that fades with age, but as something that deepens with time. 3. Efficient thinking. Do less, but do it right. As we age, our energy becomes something to be used wisely. In the kitchen, that means choosing smarter habits that reduce clutter, save effort, and make cleanup simpler. These next 2 habits focus on simplifying tools and routines, so every step takes less out of you and still gets the job done beautifully. Habit 5. Use only one cutting board. In many American kitchens, we often use several cutting boards at once. One for meat, one for vegetables, and sometimes even more. At first, this seems organized, But by the time the meal is over, the sink is full of boards, and you are left with extra work you did not need. In Japanese home kitchens, the approach is different and far more efficient. Instead of using multiple boards, they use just one and clean it between uses. It is a simple rinse and dry before moving on to the next ingredient. If you slice onions, rinse the board under warm water. Pat it dry with a clean cloth. Then prepare your protein. After that, repeat the same step before cutting fruit or garnish. This habit saves water, detergent, and most importantly, your time and energy. There is no stack of boards waiting in the sink after dinner, just one used intentionally. It also keeps your kitchen workspace more open and less chaotic. When you only have one board to manage, your focus sharpens. You become more aware of what you are doing, where things are, and what comes next. It encourages a slower, more thoughtful rhythm, something especially valuable if multitasking no longer feels as natural as it once did. Another quiet benefit: it reduces decision fatigue. You're not stopping to ask, which board should I use now? You already know. And that kind of clarity brings ease. Using one board is not about cutting corners. It is about cutting down what you no longer need to carry. You still get the job done, but with far less weight, physically and mentally. Habit 6. Use fewer utensils. How many utensils do you use in a typical meal? A spoon to stir, another to taste, one for serving, a knife for vegetables, a second knife for meat, and maybe a ladle, tongs, or 2 different spatulas. It adds up quickly, and before you know it, you are facing a countertop filled with tools and a sink full of extra dishes. But here's what Japanese homekeepers have mastered: doing more with less. Instead of using several tools, they rely on just a few and rinse or wipe them between tasks. A wooden spoon can stir a sauce, taste the soup, and serve the final dish. A single good quality knife can handle almost any ingredient with just a quick rinse in between. This habit reduces cleanup dramatically. Fewer tools means fewer things to wash, dry, and put away. But more than that, it changes how you approach the process. You begin to work more mindfully, using what is already in your hand instead of reaching for something else out of habit. It also invites creativity. You find ways to adapt the tools you have rather than rely on extra equipment. That builds confidence, and it keeps the kitchen flowing smoothly from one step to the next. Even better, it helps reduce physical movement. You do not need to bend, reach, or walk back and forth as often. Everything stays simple, direct, and within reach. Using fewer utensils is not about doing less cooking. It is about creating less mess, less clutter to look at, less noise to manage, and less work waiting after the meal is done. And at this stage of life, that kind of simplicity is not just helpful, it is wise. You protect your time, your space, and your energy. You give yourself the gift of clarity and calm. 4. Slow living. Cleaning is a quiet ritual. In a world that often values speed and productivity, it can feel strange, maybe even wrong, to slow down. But with age comes a deeper wisdom. Rushing is not always the answer. In fact, many things become more meaningful, more manageable, and more peaceful when we approach them slowly and with care. The next 2 habits invite you to treat cleaning not as a race to the finish line, but as a quiet ritual. They help you enter the kitchen calmly and leave it with a sense of closure, not exhaustion. Habit 7. Prepare ingredients before cooking. In many kitchens, cooking begins the moment the stove turns on. Ingredients are pulled from the fridge mid-process. Bowls are grabbed at the last minute. Spices are found only after the pan is already heating. This leads to a rushed, messy, and often stressful experience. In Japanese homes, cooking begins with quiet preparation. Before turning on any heat, all ingredients are measured, cut, and arranged, usually in small bowls or plates. Tools are placed within reach. Surfaces are cleared. The space is ready before the first movement even begins. This simple habit changes everything. When everything is set before you begin, cooking becomes smoother. There is less stopping and starting, fewer spills, less chance of overcooking or forgetting a step. Your hands know what to reach for. Your mind stays calm, and when your mind is calm, your body follows. It also reduces cleanup, fewer unexpected messes, fewer tools dirtied in panic. And best of all, it allows you to enjoy the act of cooking again, not just the result. You're not rushing anymore. You're preparing with care. And that care shows in the food, in the kitchen, and in how you feel by the time you sit down to eat. Habit 8. End with a 2-minute general clean. After the meal is made and the dishes are done, it can be tempting to just walk away, especially when your feet are sore or your energy is fading. But Japanese homemakers include one final quiet step, a general 2-minute clean. This is not a deep cleaning. It is a short, simple ritual to reset the space. Wipe down the counters, straighten the towel, push in the chairs. Return utensils or spices to their place. If needed, sweep up crumbs or wipe a spot on the floor. Just 2 minutes, no more. This habit may seem small, but it has lasting power. It prevents buildup. It keeps your space from becoming overwhelming the next day, and it gives you a sense of completion, not the feeling of a task half finished, but of something gently and fully closed. More than that, it honors your effort. You cooked, you cleaned, you cared, and now you can leave the kitchen knowing it is calm again, ready for the next time, whenever that may be. This 2-minute reset is not just a habit. It is a gift to your future self. These two habits, preparing before you cook and closing with a quiet clean, turn the kitchen into a rhythm, not a race. They remind you that this space belongs to you, that you are allowed to move through it with grace, that your pace is not too slow. It is just right for where you are now. 5. Legacy and wisdom. Pass it on without saying a word. As we grow older, the way we contribute to our homes and families begins to change. We may not always be the ones doing everything anymore, but what we do still matters. Our presence, our habits, our quiet consistency. These things leave an imprint. Sometimes the most powerful lessons we pass on are not spoken. They are observed. They are felt. And they live on in the everyday routines we've practiced for years. The last 2 habits in this series are about that kind of legacy, the kind that quietly shapes the next generation through simple acts of order, rhythm, and care. Habit 9. Wash, dry, and put away immediately. One of the simplest yet most meaningful habits from Japanese homekeeping is this. When you wash a dish, you also dry it and put it away right then and there. The task is not considered finished until every item has returned to its place. Nothing is left waiting in the drying rack. Nothing sits out overnight. The space is restored fully and calmly. At first glance, this might feel like more work, but when practiced regularly, it actually prevents buildup, prevents clutter, and reduces the quiet stress that often comes from walking into a kitchen that still feels unfinished. In many homes, the habit of leaving dishes to air dry seems harmless, but what tends to happen is that those dishes stay there longer than intended. A bowl here, a plate there. Soon, the countertop feels crowded, and the kitchen loses its sense of calm. You may not even realize how much it weighs on your mind until the moment you finally clear it. By drying and putting items away immediately, you complete the cleaning process in one continuous rhythm. It requires no more than a few extra seconds per item, but it leaves you with a powerful sense of closure. You are no longer coming back to a half-finished task. You're stepping away from a space that is whole again. There are practical benefits too. Drying dishes right away helps prevent water stains on glasses and plates. It prevents the musty smell that sometimes comes from wet dish towels or overused drying racks. It helps avoid mold and bacteria from growing in damp spaces. And it protects the quality of your cookware, especially wooden items that can warp or crack if left wet for too long. But the deeper value of this habit goes beyond hygiene or convenience. It is emotional. It reminds you that you are still someone who completes what she starts, not out of pressure or obligation, but out of quiet self-respect. It says, I take care of my space and I finish what I begin. It also creates a model of consistency and calm for others in the household. Even if no one says a word, people notice. Children, grandchildren, or even guests can feel the presence of someone who moves with intention, someone who brings order to the space through small, graceful actions. Habit 10. Keep the sink empty. The kitchen sink is often seen as just another utility, a place to toss dishes until there is time to clean them. But what if the sink was something more? What if it could be a symbol of rhythm, readiness, and calm? In many Japanese homes, the sink is not used as a storage place. If a dish or utensil cannot be cleaned right away, it is placed beside the sink, on a tray or in a designated container, but never inside. The sink itself is kept clear, clean, and ready for use, at any moment. This habit may seem small, but its impact is real. An empty sink creates visual calm. It signals completion, not delay. It gives you a place to wash vegetables without needing to move things around first. It invites action rather than resistance. It says, "This space is ready for the next task." When the sink is always full or even half full, it sends a different message. It creates a quiet barrier between you and the task ahead. Washing a single glass feels like more effort when it means reaching into a crowded bowl of soaking utensils. You are less likely to start anything when the first step feels like clearing someone else's mess. By keeping the sink empty, you eliminate that friction. You create a flow, a space that is always available to serve its purpose. There are also health benefits. When dishes are left in the sink, especially overnight, food particles can attract insects, bacteria, and unpleasant odors. By making a habit of clearing the sink consistently, you reduce those risks. You also reduce the time it takes to clean later. A few small moments throughout the day are far easier than one big, tiring cleanup at the end. Emotionally, this habit offers something even greater: a restored sense of control. When the sink is empty, you feel more in charge of your space, more capable, more clear-minded. You are not overwhelmed by what is undone. You are supported by what has already been handled. And just like with the previous habit, this one communicates a quiet standard to anyone who shares your home. It sets a tone of respect for the space, for the work, and for the people living there. Keeping the sink empty is not about being rigid. It is about being gentle and consistent, about choosing not to let small tasks become big stressors, about trusting that order brings ease and that you are allowed to create that ease for yourself. This habit may be silent, but its effect is lasting. It does not demand attention. It simply creates peace every time you pass by. Final thoughts. Now that we've explored these 10 gentle habits inspired by Japanese homemakers, I hope one truth stands out. You don't need to push yourself harder, and you don't need endless energy to keep a meaningful home. What truly helps are small habits that honor the season of life you're in right now. Each simple routine, whether it's rinsing a cutting board right away, wiping the stove while it's still warm, or quietly setting a clean plate back in its place, carries more than just a practical benefit. These little actions are quiet acts of love and respect for your home, your body, and the many years of care you've already given. Remember, these habits aren't rules or obligations. They are gentle invitations. Maybe you'll try one today, and perhaps another next week. That's enough. Real transformation doesn't come from doing everything at once. It comes from steady, mindful steps taken with kindness toward yourself. Your care still matters. The way you move through your space, the way you keep it, even the smallest touches of order and calm, these create a legacy. A legacy of presence, peace, and love that will live far beyond today. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these habits spoke to your heart? Which one feels easiest to begin this week? Share your thoughts in the comments below because your wisdom and experience are part of what makes this community so special. If this video brought you comfort, clarity, or even just a little encouragement, please give it a thumbs up. It truly helps more women discover Voice of Wisdom, where we celebrate simplicity, grace, and the beauty of living well at every age. And if you haven't already, I warmly invite you to subscribe to Voice of Wisdom and tap the notification bell so you never miss our weekly conversations about homemaking, aging gracefully, and finding peace in everyday life. Thank you, my dear friend, for being here with me today. Thank you for all the quiet care you've given to your home, your loved ones, and yourself. Until we meet again, may your days feel lighter, your routines be gentle, and your heart always filled with quiet joy.